Yeah, Blair White, how the COVID-19 conspiracy theorists were right about everything. She's in a nurse outfit. Nobody asked me the color of anything.
So you're telling me the conspiracy theorists were correct about the lab leak hypothesis, vaccines, lockdowns, vitamin D, ivermectin, gain of function, censorship. What were they wrong about?
We were wrong about nothing. So far, everything I've seen has been correct. So far, every single thing.
All right, strap in, because today's topic, it's a lot like Joe Biden. Touchy.
Ha!
In 2025, I would hope that we are all on the same page that this phrase, conspiracy theorist, is not actually an insult. I would personally consider it a compliment. And even further than that, a genuine survival skill. And if you think about it, it's actually hilarious it ever was used as an insult because...
Pop quiz. What's the tattoo on her wrist? Are you guys paying attention? Or are you distracted by her outfit? Yeah, I see you. Bunch of gooners in the chat. Bunch of gooners in the chat.
We're acting like the act of conspiring is just so fringe, so unlikely to occur. Like no one conspires. No one lies. Why would you think that way? The government doesn't do that ever. Okay. It's not as if they ever successfully ran mind control experiments on unwilling citizens. They definitely never intentionally gave a population of African Americans in the inner city syphilis just to see what would happen.
Dude, what?
And one thing I know for certain is that Nancy Pelosi is most definitely not an old reptilian shape-shifting whore.
We're different from the president. We're very discreet.
Oh shit, she just exposed herself. Look at that.
Reptilian.
And you know, Hunter's laptop is fake. Biden's definitely young and mentally fit, right? Transitioning kids, that's actually safe and reversible. And what about those drones, right? How are those drones up in the sky that the government definitely doesn't know what they are, but also knows they're not a danger to you, right?
Fucking exactly. Okay, so they have all the drones in the sky, right? All the drones are up there in the sky. The government knows that they're not dangerous, but has no idea what they are. If you don't know what they are, how do you know they're not dangerous? See, there's something here you're not telling us.
If your first reflex when a political event happens, a tragedy happens, whatever, to just take the government narrative as the truth. It's actually the opposite of that. It makes you the schizo, in fact. And as you already know by the title and the costume. Hi.
Hi.
We have to talk about COVID today. Specifically, how the COVID-19 conspiracy theorists were kind of right about everything.
Dude, there are still people in my city that drive around with a mask on in their car by themselves. Like a few months ago, I was driving, and then somebody was walking past my car, or I was driving slowly past them, and they were wearing a mask. In the year of our Lord, 2024, they were still wearing a mask, and they looked at me, and I looked at them, and they looked at me, looked at them, and I looked at them, look at me, look at them, and they pointed at their face like telling me that I need to wear a mask. Like, bitch, COVID's over. You look ridiculous.
First up is the lab leak theory. So up until about 5 seconds ago, if you suggested that COVID-19, a respiratory virus first observed in Wuhan, China, originated from the lab in Wuhan, China, specifically known for respiratory viruses, you were treated as, I would say crazy, but you were actually called racist for that.
Something you probably have heard from certain...
Oh yeah, we were called racist, because we called it the Kung Flu, or the Wuhan virus. Or the China virus. You know, the China virus that came from China. Yeah, that one. We were called racist for that.
Corner of the right is this theory that the coronavirus, quote, escaped from the lab.
We must stop.
It didn't escape. It didn't escape. I think it was let loose. I've been saying we're at war with China, bro. I've been saying that shit. I think COVID was biological warfare on the rest of the world.
Stop the racism. We must stop the hate.
Shut up, Kim Jong.
Do you think that puts Asian Americans at risk, that people might target them?
No, not at all.
Come to Chinatown. Here we are. We're, again, careful, safe, and come join us.
And we all know the only phrase that shuts down a conversation quicker than conspiracy theorists is racist. And even worse than just getting called racist, you were actually deplatformed for saying this, for the sin of stating the obvious, whether you were an everyday citizen, an influencer, a doctor, a lawyer. Like, you could have...
People started coming up with these stupid ass names to refer to the coronavirus because nobody could say it without getting demonetized or shadow banned. There were people calling COVID the coof. Like, what the fuck? The coof? That's the best you can come up with? It's almost as cringe as unalive. You guys heard people say unalive? Of course you have. You're on the internet. People say unalive. Oh, he unalived himself. They were unalived. It's a double unalive aside. It's fucking cringe, dude. There are so many different ways to say that they're pushing up daisies. Or somebody died. Oh, they logged off the reality server. That's my favorite. But unalived is so cringe. Almost as cringe as the coof when referring to COVID. I don't understand how people come up with such cringy alternative names to call shit. It makes no sense to me.
Have a good reputation. You could be a completely sane individual making a completely sane connection, common sense connection. Whether it's Facebook, the old libbed out Twitter, like you couldn't say this very obvious truth. As of 2025, then and now, right? All roads really do lead to, it really did come out of this demonic lab. As of today, the FBI, the US Department of Energy, declassified intelligence reports, and a House committee as recent as December 2024 have all adopted the lab leak theory. Shocking. Who could have predicted this?
Literally everyone. I don't understand why they want to hide this shit from everybody. What up, thug rats? You say toaster bath? Dude, I say that shit too now because of you. You got me saying that shit. I say toaster bath too because I think it's funny. No, they committed toaster bath. But yeah, I say logged off the reality server. Or if they were killed, they say kicked off the reality server. It also adds to the simulation theory because we're in a simulation. We're in a video game. This is like Sword Art Online, except not. This is like .hack We're in a simulated universe, and you're getting kicked off the reality server. Neph needs to turn off the subscription-only feed, but everybody in here is subscribed. Everybody's subscribed to the channel, right? And I don't monetize the streams. Come on, just hit the subscribe button. It's free. Anyways, back to Blair.
And even that little nasty Dr. Fauci has been forced.
You nasty.
To adopt it as well.
Today you testified that you did not suppress the lab leak theory, yet in the past you have said, quote, it is a distortion of reality, unquote. You've said, quote, I've heard these conspiracy theories, and like all conspiracy theories, they're just conspiracy theories. That's what you told the American people. And so would you like to clarify what science were you following then versus now?
Yeah, no, I've also been very, very clear and said multiple times that I don't think the concept of there being a lab leak is inherently a conspiracy theory.
This coronavirus.
I hate the way that these people fucking talk, dude. I didn't say that they were right. I just said that the concept of it is not completely far-fetched. Oh, well, okay, cool.
Virus was not man-made. That is not a possibility. The transmission was likely from animal to human. Even Dr. Anthony Fauci, a member of the president's coronavirus task force, said there is no scientific evidence the coronavirus was made in a Chinese lab.
And this is such an important piece because all of this, the entire COVID situation, regardless of where you sat politically, I think and I hope that everyone can kind of see now.
You can't wait for the word gooner to start being cringe. It's already cringe, dude. I just say it ironically because it's funny. Anyone wondering what Fauci's doing nowadays, if it was up to me, he'd be in jail. But you know, that's why I'm not the president.
In retrospect, hindsight's 2020, that there was an extreme amount of government overreach and policing of truth that was not only unnecessary, but extremely terrifying and something that we have to learn from. Even that robot, Mark Zuckerberg, testified that the Biden administration
Speaking of mysterious drones, Mark Zuckerberg
threatened Meta with lawsuits and increased regulation should they not comply with their demands to ban people for saying the truth.
People from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse. They pushed us super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said,
that shouldn't be allowed. Like what? I don't understand how you can threaten somebody with lawsuits to ban somebody for saying things. Okay, so Donald Trump said that when he becomes president, he's going to extend the First Amendment to include the internet. I did a reaction to that video too on my Clips channel, I think.
You know, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. They want us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you know, you're gonna see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible.
You or a loved one took the COVID vaccine, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
Well, you know, like for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme, and they're like, no, you have to take that down.
And why would they work so hard to suppress something that is such a basic truth? Well, That's because the conspiracy theorists were correct about gain of function as well. And this lab was actually funded by the United States, so...
I'm so happy I didn't fall for this bullshit, dude. Who knows what they're trying to put in your body, bro? Why are they trying so hard to inject you with this shit? We don't even know what's in it.
It's really not a good look for anybody for this virus to come out from there, so you're just not allowed to say that, hun. And if you don't know what gain of function is, ChatGPT says, it's research involving altering an organism's genetic makeup to enhance its abilities, such as increasing a virus's infectiousness or adaptability, to study potential risks and develop preventative measures. So not what you want to actually leave the lab, and not to be a conspiracy theorist like we're discussing here, but when you look at it like that, it's really not actually that far-fetched to start to wonder, okay, so was it completely intentional? What was...
Conspiracy theorist is just being right early. Who said that shit? Who said that shit? Was it Raven? I think Raven said that shit. Being a conspiracy theorist is just being right too early. Oh, Raven was quoting Blair, I think. I just remember that from last stream, I think.
Was this massive global rollout? Why did all the countries around the world have such similar policies adopted instantly? Why was there this instantaneous response, this uniform, militarized and monetized response to COVID? Was there in fact a plan? But that would make you crazy, right?
Yes.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these things simply aren't true.
This shit will always scare me every fucking time I see this shit. They got all the local news stations working in tandem to push this same message. It's all for the globalist agenda. That's what it is. It's all for the globalist agenda.
Without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Why the f*** are we still paying taxes?
Dude, Stephen Colbert is so fucking cringe. The vaccine. Look at all these fucking trans people behind him, bruh. Oh, you're so cringe.
Vaccinate, vaccinate, make an appointment. Vaccinate, vaccinate,
What?
get rid of COVID. Vaccinate, vaccinate.
What the fuck is this, dude? Why do they all look so fucking... Chat. Look at this fucking evil ass motherfucker. Look at this evil ass motherfucker, chat. Look at this. Look at his eyes, bro. Look at his eye. This guy is possessed by a demon. This guy is a fucking demon, dude. There is no soul. There is no soul in this man. He is an empty vessel inhabited by a fucking entity. Nope, that is evil right there.
Next is the vaccine. I know this one's a bit sensitive. It's a bit touchy. It's a bit of a hard topic for some people because some of y'all, you know, got it. Some of y'all got like 8 of them.
That's wild to me. There are people that got 8 vaccines. I didn't even get one.
And this one is so important because the amount of things that, in retrospect now, the conspiracy theorists got right about the vaccine is actually insane. This is where they did their big one. This is where they really kind of called it as it happened and as it was going to happen. And when I say them, you know, I really am talking about myself because you know she didn't get it. Make all the jokes you want. I'm aware, honey. I put a lot of things in my body and I know that, you know, I'm kind of like the Atlantic, full of plastic. But one thing I'm not putting in there is that damn COVID vaccine. I have to be so real. And
she says she's like the Atlantic, full of plastic. That's fucking funny. You didn't even know there were 8 vaccines? Yeah, dude, they had the fucking vaccine. Then you had like 3 booster shots that you had to do. And then they came out with the Delta variant, so they had to adjust the vaccine to fit the Delta variant. And then they fucking changed up the names so many times. They started sounding like Transformers. Like C186-305 variant. That now you have to get this new vaccine. Like what? Like, come on, bro. Like, what the fuck?
And not even because it is a vaccine, right? Because there's a straw man argument that if you have questions or are skeptical or hesitant about the COVID vaccine in any way, it suddenly makes you anti-vaccine in totality. So
Yeah, they called us anti-vaxxers and shit. Oh, if you don't believe that the vaccine is helping, you're an anti-vaxxer, which means you're no better than a Nazi. Well, literally what they were saying. You're a literal Nazi if you don't get this vaccine. Okay, then I'm a fucking Nazi. I don't give a shit. If you don't get the vaccine, you may as well just start putting Jews in concentration camps, because you're the same.
Suddenly, you reject the concept of vaccines as a whole, and that is just really dumb. But here's what they got right. Remember when myocarditis was basically like the N-word? I do. But spoiler alert, the CDC and FDA as of 2025.
What's myocarditis? Chat, pop quiz. What's myocarditis? That's your SAT word of the day. I gotta look that up now. What's myocarditis? Cardio is something to do with heart, right? So is it like a heart attack? Myocarditis. Is that like a heart attack? Myocarditis is a condition where the heart's middle muscle layer becomes inflamed. Can you die from that? You probably die from that. Any heart complications from a COVID vaccine is a giant red flag. Not enough for me to want to take it. If you're getting a heart attack in your fucking late 20s, that's enough for me to be like, fuck that entire vaccine.
I've now acknowledged it as a risk of the vaccine, especially after the...
Yeah, the left hates Nazis and Zionists. Yeah. None of their ideology makes any sense, dude. I knew the moment they said queers for Palestine that they were horribly misinformed.
The second dose for young males. Because having to worry about a heart attack as a young male is totally a worthy trade-off to not have to worry about a virus with a 99.9% survival rate. Big emphasis on that.
I didn't even know it had that. Like, I'll be honest, when COVID first dropped, like when the COVID DLC dropped, I was terrified of it. I thought it was going to be all full of bugs. Thought my game was going to be crashing and everything. Thought I'd have to run around with a huge patch just to prevent myself from dying in the game, you know what I'm saying? Didn't realize that it had a 99.5% survival rate. Like what? Needless to say, that was a failed DLC. And one I will not be buying in the future.
Repeat that, because you can tell someone that now and they can actually be in shock. There are people that don't even...
Myocarditis in severe cases can lead to death, otherwise meds help. Okay, cool. Still a complication, but a manageable one, so it's fine. I mean, it's not fine. It's not fine. The fact that a vaccine is the one doing that. A vaccine to a virus with a 99% survival rate. I don't know how anybody trusts the government after this.
Even know that that was the level of survivability of this virus. You would think it was the plague when it was happening, and you
I
would
had
even
no
think
idea.
it was the plague with how some people talk about it in retrospect still. So the crazies were right about myocarditis. They were also right about it not stopping transmission. And this one is really important because this was the main selling point of the vaccine. Every media figure, every politician, every person who was pushing this drug on you, like your average drug dealer, right, made the claim that it was going to stop transmission. You get it and you can't give it to somebody else.
Now we know that...
Dude, they kept pushing that shit. And it was wild to me. Well, if you're gonna get the vaccine and it's gonna stop transmission, why the fuck are you making so many? Why do we have like 8 vaccines? Why are there so many booster shots? Obviously, none of it works if you need 8 of them.
The vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
That was just a bold-faced lie. Like that was just a straight-up lie, like on national television. Like what the fuck?
Vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus. The virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else.
And by that logic, all you need is a vaccinated leftist, and then it doesn't matter what the right does, because eventually it's gonna go away, right? But it wasn't enough. We were still anti-vaxxers, still equivalent to Nazis.
Was the Pfizer COVID vaccine tested on stopping the transmission of the virus before it entered the market? I really want a straight answer, yes or no.
I think my mom asked me if I got vaccinated, and I told her that I did, even though I didn't. And then she asked me what kind of vaccination I got. And then I was like, the one that goes in your arm? She was like, no, did you mean Pfizer or Moderna? I was like, oh, I don't know, bruh. I got Pfizer, I guess. I ain't get shit. I still never got COVID. I've never got COVID or a vaccination.
Did we know about stopping immunization before it entered the market? No. We had to really move at the speed of science.
And anybody who questioned if the vaccine was actually going to be effective at stopping transmission, this was also treated as blasphemous, just like these other things. Pure blasphemy against our benevolent pharmaceutical companies.
Oh yeah, not the benevolent pharmaceutical companies.
We used to be able to rely on, the average lib to actually fight against, to stand against, to be skeptical of. They became gods during COVID, and that's what's so terrifying. So yeah, spoiler alert, it didn't stop
People weren't really helping with that either. They were like, I'm not gonna sit here listening to you talk without a medical degree. Tell me about what we should know about COVID. Like, okay, well, the experts aren't really helping either, bruh.
You can say the science simply changed, and maybe it just didn't meet the expectations at the beginning, but why are we giving these companies and the government this out? Why are we assuming benevolent intentions of entities that we know are not benevolent, that actually actively work against us in every other facet of life? For me, there was many reasons why I didn't take it. One being the fact that it was mandated, that it was the second it came out, all of society was under blackmail of taking it.
Yeah, dude, that was a red flag. Being pressured so hard to take it. And the fact that it was required made me want to take it less. I don't like being told what to do. Don't tell me what to do. I never got COVID neither. Yeah, dude, I never got it. I never got the vaccine. Never got COVID. Or if I did, I don't know. The fact that you're asymptomatic, or you could also be asymptomatic, was another red flag. Oh, so that means that no matter what, you gotta wear a mask. You gotta put the mask on. You gotta get the vaccine because you could have it even though you don't, and now you're killing grandma.
Wrangler donated $4.20 through Super Chat.
Thank you, Wrangler. I have my pen in my hand right now. W Wrangler. I'm pro-vax, but if someone doesn't want to get vaxxed, that's their choice. Everybody's their own person. See, I thought it was my body, my choice, right? If I don't want to put a foreign substance in my arm, I'm not going to do that shit. I don't do drugs. I don't do nothing. Oh, wait, I got to hit this. Okay, so I do drugs a little bit. I got to hit the pen for Wrangler's donation because he always donates $4.20 because he likes to see me die on stream. He likes me to cough my lungs out, bruh. Wrangler is more dangerous for my lungs than COVID-19. That's just facts. Yeah, it should be your choice. Like, if you want to get it, go ahead and get it. But if you don't want to get it, don't get it. Enough people will get it to where it will stop anyways. And you could also, just strengthen your own immune system. Yeah, there are natural remedies or natural ways to strengthen your own immune system. I'm pro-vax for stuff like polio, but it don't make me put some experimental shit in my body. That's another good one. The vaccines that you get and the immunizations that you get when you're born, I understand those. But we barely knew what COVID was when they came out with the vaccine for it. I'm not gonna put that shit in my body. That's like we have vaccines at home type shit. I don't do any hard drugs like meth or heroin. I don't shoot anything into my body. I put wine. I'm drinking wine right now. I put wine in my body. But wine comes from grapes, and grapes is a fruit, right? Grapes is a vegetable. So that means that wine is practically a vegetable. So I'm eating healthy. I'm putting healthy shit in my body.
And you can lie and say that there was choice involved, but there was a complete erosion of choice. You had to take it, or you couldn't go to school, you couldn't go to work, you couldn't see your family, you couldn't hold funerals for your loved ones, you couldn't do anything. You don't get to threaten people with an inability to restart their lives, go to work, go to school, for lockdowns in general to end, which they did not end just because the vaccine came out. I know living in LA, they continued for years. And use this talking point of it's going to stop.
I don't know when the lockdowns ended because I work security and security was seen as an essential job. I work. Literally, my life did not change whatsoever. Maybe that's why I didn't become mentally unstable.
And then everyone's supposed to be like, oh, well, they didn't know any better. Excuse me, because that's the thing. The reason why many healthy people who are actually at virtually no risk of any serious complications and or death due to COVID, many healthy demographics even took the vaccine, is because of this element of protecting people around them, vulnerable people around them. This was the entire argument. And it's very important to remember that.
Nobody asked me the color of anything.
You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated. Yeah. Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
So then you have to start wondering why the elites were so desperate to get this injection in you. Why were they so desperate to enter you? Essentially, you just forced something in.
Why were they so desperate to enter you? That's not a line I thought I'd hear anybody say. Bop, 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 just like blaming the guy next to you for your sunburn because he didn't wear sunblock. Exactly, dude. That's a good analogy.
My choice!
Hello?
You.
What is
Where's
it?
your mask? Where is your mask?
I'm in my car. What are you talking about?
See, this is the same energy of the guy that I passed when I was in my car. He didn't walk up to my window or nothing, but he pointed at his face where's your mask? Bro, I'm by myself in my car, dude.
You're not wearing a mask. Put your mask on.
I'm in my car.
Thank God the people who thought the shot was just gonna unalive everybody in one fell swoop were not correct. But when you set a precedent that everyone has to take a shot at the drop of a dime when the government says so, who's to say the next one couldn't be, right? So that's why we have to learn from things and not repeat history. That's why I'm making this video. The spell that was placed over so many people, even that I know in my personal life, I'm not trying to attack anybody, but I knew people that were getting this shot the second it came out, the week it came out, when they were pregnant. I knew people that were taking it multiple from different locations, different pharmacies, different brands. Like, people were really scared, and that is what you need to know. The government always does its big one when you are afraid, when you're willing to give up freedom and liberties for security. And in this case, I believe, my personal opinion, a false sense of security. Natural immunity is another one the crazies got right. And fast forward, of course,
natural immunity. Your immune system by itself will defeat this virus. Now, there are some people, who are immunocompromised, but that's, ruling them out. Your natural immunization will fucking work. Joe Rogan was talking about that shit.
CDC now just casually acknowledges natural immunity as adequate, and they've stopped pretending like it's some mythological superpower. Great.
From the CDC today, a new report out just this week says vaccines, get this, were less effective than natural immunity against the Delta variant.
No way.
I remember very clearly how badly people were treated for making the very common sense statement that natural immunity might be a better alternative for some people in fighting COVID for their own selves. And they were treated like, I don't know, crazy fundamentalist religious people who don't take their kids to the doctor when they have cancer or something. Like, you were
They treated us like we were just praying the virus away or some shit. Like, oh, your child has cancer, we'll say a prayer and it will be in God's hands.
We're treated like the craziest of the crazy. I can just hear those old witch bitches at The View going catatonic about this one. I can just hear it.
I'm not opposed to the vaccine, but I am opposed to the mandate 100% on the grounds of
762,000 people have died from COVID.
I know her from somewhere. She's base as fuck. I think she's from Valuetainment, so she's not part of The View, but this bitch is fucking psychopath. I think she's based.
Don't think we should allow this kind of misinformation on our air.
The psychosis that people were under that's the worst part. COVID did not present a uniform risk to people, so why there was a uniform solution forced on everybody is beyond me. Particularly when it comes to kids, this is another hard topic. It's hard not to look back and see it as absolutely sick, just being honest, to force a population who faces virtually zero risk to be administered.
Dude, the stuff that we're doing to children just make me sick, bro. Just leave the damn kids alone. We're injecting them with shit, chopping them to pieces. Like, I can't understand. The obsession with our children, it just makes me so, it makes me so mad. It makes me violently angry.
A drug. Also with that same blackmail, you can't go back to preschool, you can't go back to 3rd grade, can't be around your friends, can't play outside. To be able to look back on so many lies, misinformation, false advertising, propaganda, false advertising really being the operative phrase here, because it was a product. It was a product.
The biggest drug cartels in the world get together and buy up all the media and all the politicians and force all the people in the world to stay locked in their homes. And people can only come out if they take the cartel's drugs and keep taking them over and over.
What is that guy's name? I know what he's from. I've seen him before. He was in Now You See Me. Whatever his name is, he was based. That's a base take. I don't even want to know what those kids are going to be like later just because of the lockdowns. It's unnerving, yeah. It already fucked some people up. Like, the fucking non-binary shit kicked into overdrive because of the lockdowns. All people could do was sit at home and scroll TikTok. Woody Harrelson, yes, thank you. Sorry. The only thing it does, it ruined an entire generation. That's what happened. Everybody became mentally depressed. Everybody became more depressed, mentally unstable because of the lockdowns. Oh, well, here we go. Lockdowns. Now she's gonna talk about the lockdowns.
Next up, we have lockdowns. Hi, trauma. Hi. See, lockdowns did work. If the goal was to create mass psychosis, decimate the middle class while further enriching billionaires, skyrocket mental health and substance abuse issues, exacerbate the isolation and loneliness crisis, permanently damage a generation of children by disrupting their crucial developmental years, turn everyone into a feral caged beast who, of course, were going to riot and burn everything down to the ground the second they had the chance, and make everybody fat, because that definitely happened too. If you were trying to stop COVID, though, no, that was a flop. The entire thing felt like an experiment in how sick they can make people in every discernible way. And I'm not even talking about COVID here. I'm talking about closing gyms and churches, but keeping liquor stores and fast food places open. I'm talking about taking away people's ability to exercise in the midst of a virus that disproportionately affects fat people. And while you're at it, turning up the fat positivity propaganda.
They want you to be fat. They want you to be fat, lazy, and dying a lot because they want the population to go down. And the population go down by just killing everybody slowly over time.
I'm talking about taking away people's places of worship, but keeping the weed stores open. And listen, I'm not against weed. I just want to be able to do both.
Hey, give me a Bible and a blunt, dude. I'll do both.
This is America. I want Jesus and a blunt. They took away people's
Thank you.
ability to work anywhere that they, on whatever basis that they decided, deemed as non-essential, as if working anywhere, providing food and money for your family and keeping a roof over your own head is not essential. Your business that keeps food in your children's mouths gotta go. It's gotta shut down, and actually we don't even know when the lockdown's gonna end. We'll let you know, I guess, but we don't have a date, sorry.
The essential worker shit was always wild to me. It's the way that they word shit, right? So what classifies as essential? And essential by whose definition? Because in my definition of essential, my job is essential.
The VMAs and the Oscars, though, there's no reason to shut those down. That has to go on. What would Americans do if they were not sitting their fat asses on the couch watching Beyonce win her 87th fucking award? That has to go on, babe. See, those televised satanic rituals.
Yeah, exactly. What's up with all that shit?
Babe, we can't go without those. We really can't. It's the poor people that can't work, didn't you know? And what I never saw and still don't see talked about enough is that COVID resulted in one of the largest wealth transfers in human history. Global billionaire wealth increased by over 5 trillion between March 2020 and November 2021. Companies like Amazon, Tesla, and Apple, they all exploded while small businesses evaporated. And what's never made sense to me is that the same people who supported lockdowns the most, who wanted those to go on indefinitely, right? Who were just so scared of the virus, the same lived out commies who would have been calling Tim Walz's punk ass snitch hotline because
Is that Tim Walz? Was this guy almost our vice president? We could have had this guy for vice president. What's wrong with you guys? Why you ain't vote for Kamala? We could have had this. This could have been our VP.
Because you dared to, I don't know, take one step out of your front door during the height of
Oh my God, it gets worse.
Those same people.
Oh my God, it gets worse. Quit it. Oh God. My eyes.
People who scream about billionaires and the wealthy elite, and so much so that it's even normalized to like unalive them in the street now. That's just like commonly accepted, right? How does that make sense? How all it took for them to completely stick their head in the dirt and not see that this was mostly about class warfare. All it took for that was a virus with a 99.9% survival rate. That's sad. And how many people consequently died later or during COVID as a direct result of the lockdowns? How many people died from the 9 to 10 million less cancer screenings that occurred in 2020, not even counting 21 and 22? How many children?
You'll take the crazy Ohio guy? Yeah, me too, bro. I'll take J.D. Vance any day over whatever that dancing Brokeback Mountain ass looking ass boy was.
Children faced undue crisis, unnecessary trauma because schools were closed and mandatory reporters were no longer mandatory reporters.
Are you saying no school children died of COVID?
I'm saying it was the safest group. They were the less vulnerable group, and they suffered and will suffer more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID. And that's not an opinion, that's a fact.
W. Dr. Phil. That was fucking, you just destroyed the entire view. That's what that was. That was Dr. Phil destroying the view.
How many people lost or ruined their lives because of the astronomical rise of depression, anxiety, self-deletion, especially among younger people? Why did children who faced virtually no risk under COVID need to have their education disrupted so extremely that even now in 2025, we continue to see learning gaps that have still not closed since pre-COVID? These are ripple effects that are actually way more disastrous than being forced to go outside or weather a virus with a 99.9% survival rate. It did not and does not ever again justify the type of reaction that society in lockstep, in their mass formation psychosis bag, enacted. And the saddest part is that the professionals and the people that supported and enacted these policies very much know that isolation is anti-human and has horrible consequences for the psyche of human beings. There's a reason why we even have empathy for the worst of the worst criminals if they are placed in solitary confinement. The point is that the trade-off of lockdowns, the consequences of lockdowns in every direction was not worth it. We're human beings. We're not meant to live like we're already dead.
That's facts. We're not meant to be locked in our house, bro. That shit just increases depression. That's why cabin fever is a phrase, bro. People get cabin fever, they get irritable, they get anxious, and when they're stuck scrolling TikTok, their IQ points take an objectively visible nosedive. It was a psyop. I'll believe that shit. I believe that. 1000% a psyop.
Finally, it was a psyop. I'm sure some people will interpret this as me saying that COVID wasn't real, that the virus wasn't a thing, that people didn't suffer due to the virus. And you can, take my words as that. That's not what I'm saying at all. And I will give it to you that any conspiracy theorist who said the virus was fake entirely or didn't exist, that's not the truth. But what the conspiracy theorists got correct about COVID was everything around COVID. The clear psychological operation that was taking place under the guise of safety from COVID. And no matter how COVID touched you and your
I think COVID was a test. They were testing their machine.
Personal life, no matter what political leaning you have, I would hope that we can all agree by now that something about the way society was moving and the rules we were supposed to follow and the way government reacted was a bit fake and queer. The masking when you're walking to the
Did she say fake and queer? She means queer as in strange, right?
Was a bit fake and queer. The masking when you're walking to the table
queer.
but not when you have to sit down. Don't go outside because you'll catch it unless you're rioting. Sunlight? That thing that all...
The riot, it was just fucking weird. Everything's fine, you stay 6 feet apart unless you're burning down an entire city. And then we're just not going to enforce what we said.
And it needs, that's bad. Sitting and staring at the blue light that destroys your health on your phone all day. That's good. Like I said before, to this day, there is still a sizable amount of people that if you inform them of the actual survivability rate of COVID, they will react in shock. And that in and of itself is nothing but proof that there was a number run on the psyche of the everyday person. If you have to have a live death counter on CNN, if you have to Photoshop Joe Rogan to look like he's on his deathbed to really hammer in the point that this is something you have to be afraid of, if you have to do all that,
that is wild.
Maybe it's because it's not as bad as you're actually saying, and maybe you have a motive. It's also just very convenient that, like every other psyop we can identify throughout history and in real time, that it had the wonderfully convenient and helpful effect for the government that there was this natural divide that occurred, right? Of this lower class of people that didn't take the vaccine, who couldn't go indoors, who couldn't go in certain businesses, and you didn't want to be around them, and they were being blamed for all of society's problems.
Yeah. And our fucking government leaders didn't have to do any of that shit. They didn't have to obey their own rules, bro. They didn't have to wear masks when they go out. They didn't have to fucking get the vaccine. There was a footage of somebody, who was it? I think it was Biden getting the vaccine or Kamala, one of those, where like they had bent the needle to make it look like they were getting the vaccine. They weren't actually receiving the vaccine. So it was all just optics. If you zoom in, she's only pretending to get the vaccine. So what the fuck are they injecting us with?
This continues to be a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
What does
if
that
you want to
mean?
get an abortion, get an abortion. If I want to get the vaccine, I get to choose. So you can't.
Thank you. My body, my choice, goddammit.
And force. If I can't force you to get an abortion, you shouldn't be able to force me to
Because
get
it's not about you. It's about people you interact with. And
See, that's how they fucking try to get you to do shit. It's not about you. You're not protecting why would you, your body, your choice. It's about people you're interacting with. You're protecting your fellow man. You are killing my grandma by not getting vaccinated. So you get the vaccine or else my grandma dies. That's how they fucking get you. Like, can you imagine if we did that the other way around? Oh, your body, your choice? Well, you're not allowed to get that abortion. If you kill that baby, my grandma dies.
that's the social contract of public health.
You're assuming because somebody can take the vaccine, won't get COVID, which, by the way, I don't need to play the clips for you to see it, where everybody said, hey, if you get it, you're not going to get, if you take the vaccine, you're not going to get a Rachel Maddow, Joe Biden. I can give you Fauci. I can give you, and you've seen these clips before. It's not like you've never seen it before.
Yeah, what happened
They were wrong.
Hold on. So, the strain evolved.
Where are we dealing with a virus or are we dealing with a Pokemon?
It just all played out exactly like every other psyop plays out, and so that's how you know that's what it was. At least in part because, again, it's not that COVID was fake. And you can make a straw man argument that that's what I'm saying, but that's simply a straw man. It's not what I'm saying. Whether it's a virus that was engineered for the purpose of this grand experiment.
I believe the virus was real. I believe that it was actually created in the lab. I do believe the virus is real. I just believe that the globalists took advantage of the fact that the virus is around and used that as an excuse to try to test their machine. That's what I think happened. So everything around COVID, even though COVID was no more deadly than the common cold, I believe that the elites were trying to use it as an excuse to test their machine. To test their propaganda machine, to test whether or not you will do what they say and blindly obey them without any sort of pushback. I think the only reason that they didn't go into phase 2 was the anti-vaxxers, because they didn't have as much of a grip on society as they thought they did, so they reeled it back in. So now they're going to wait for the next global catastrophe to test their machine again. I don't think they got the results that they were looking for, so they dialed it back and then went ahead and confirmed all the conspiracy theorists. I believe that the anti-vaxxers and the people who were fighting back against the narrative were the ones that actually saved society from phase 2 of the globalist agenda.
Or a virus that really did accidentally get let loose, that government sees the opportunity. See, that's the thing. People talk about false flags. There's multiple types of false flags. There's the false flags that are 100% coordinated, and then there are genuine tragedies that the opportunity is then seized upon by the hands of government to enact control, to limit freedoms while you're afraid. Just like post 9/11, just like when they're trying to convince us to go into war, they just turn the fear dial up, and you have to always wonder why they're doing that. There's a reason why time and time again during COVID, we caught our overlords, our government overlords, our governors, our politicians, our elites, breaking all the same rules that they claimed we were grandma.
Dude, that's what I was saying. They didn't have to obey any of the shit. It was just us. They were still going to parties and attending their appointments and all that shit. It was literally just, the working class had to obey the COVID laws.
Pillars for if we broke them. There's a reason why these rules only applied to the little people. It's the classic, it's what has happened all throughout history, what's currently happening now in many facets. And for whatever reason, people generally are pretty open to the idea of things like this happening in the past. They're pretty open to the idea of tyranny and government overreach when they see it in a history book or perceive it as something that used to once be, but they're not as good as spotting it, identifying it, and calling it out when it's happening in the moment, which is the most important time to do it. And I don't know if that's just a lack of education on history. I don't know if that is fear, cowardice. I don't know what it is. It's probably a blend of all the things. My opinion on COVID is that it was largely a massive human experiment. I see it as an attempt to make people poorer, sicker, more tribal, more traumatized, more dependent on government, and more willing to allow freedoms to be eroded. Because if
it fucking worked too, bruh. It worked on all the libs. It didn't work on the conservatives, but it worked on all the libs. Now we've got liberals freaking worshiping China because of their communist government. So yeah, they became more reliant on the government, more able, more willing to listen to shit, and then now they're willing to give their data to the foreign power.
If you're willing to let the government put you on a de facto house arrest and tell you at the drop of a dime what you need to put in your body, that you have to follow any and all rules they put forward, even if they defy your basic common sense, even if you know the stupid arrows on the floor aren't keeping you from COVID, even if you know it makes no sense that Beyonce is at an award show while you're at home unable to work, I see it as a huge test in what you're willing to accept.
That's what I'm saying, bro. There's the war with China. I've been saying that for fucking ever. There's a fucking war with China. We're at war with China. The fucking COVID was biological. Fucking TikTok is psychological. They're freaking buying up farmland. But there it is. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. War with China.
Except maybe I'm crazy. I don't want a government that can do that. And the worst part is that this is America. We were supposed to figure this out. Insert the quote from Benjamin Franklin about sacrificing liberty for security. We should have had this figured out a long time ago. The lab leak hypothesis, ivermectin, vaccine efficacy, lockdown efficacy, the censorship, vitamin D, basic health science, children's education, mental health. The conspiracy theorists, and I count myself in that group, were right about all of it. And that should be a huge learning lesson for everybody. So the next time you spot them trying to fearmonger you into giving up your freedom, liberty, human dignity, right to live your life as a sovereign human being on this planet. Some may say a child of God. I will say that because that's my belief, that we're all children of God. And guess what? Government's down here. God's way up there. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to this channel as well as my podcast channel. Follow me on X and Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.
Bye, Blair. Yeah, I don't believe none of that shit. 100% a psyop.